Welcome to Mishna study, Masechet Pesachim, Perek Chet Mishnah Bet. Over here in this Mishnah, we're going to discuss when adding flour to certain items, mustard and haroset. Are you allowed to go ahead and take some flour and add it to those items or not? We're going to say that it turns into, these items turn into chametz and maybe even faster than water. Right? We know water, as we mentioned, takes a certain amount of time in order to cause that flour to rise. But let's say you add it to, a different type of liquid agent, maybe it could rise faster. So that's going to be our Mishnah. En notim את הקמח לא לתוך החרוסת ולא לתוך החרדל, ואם נתן יאכל מיד. רבי מאיר אוסר. Okay, so I'm just going to translate this, and then I'll explain to you how Harambam actually breaks this out. But firstly, you cannot put you can't take flour and put it into haroset, and you cannot put it into mustard. Now, if you put it, you have to eat it right away, right? Meaning you can't let it sit there and because it will turn into hametz. Now, Rabbi Meir oser. Rabbi Meir says no, it's asur. Now, what's Rabbi Meir arguing on? So Harambam says the mahlok between Tanna Kama and Rabbi Meir is only when you put it into the mustard seeds, right? To the actual mustard itself. But if a person put it into the haroset, everybody agrees that you need to go ahead and get rid of it right away, right? So that means that, yisaref miyad, right? You have to destroy it right away. So even Tanna Kama would agree to the Bimir that they both asur, right? So it's almost like, en notim takemach lo letoch haroset, period. And then we say, you also can't put it into mustard, and if you put it, you have to eat it right away. The Bimir argues on that one point. Right? So that's how you really have to go ahead and understand that Mishnah. Now the Mishnah continues and says, En mevashein Pesach, right? You cannot cook the Pesach. You can cook the Korban Pesach, lo b'mashkin v'lo b'mepirot. You're not allowed to cook it with liquids, nor with any, fruit juices, right? We know that the Korban Pesach needs to be roasted. It cannot be cooked. Right, cooking is something done in a pot, right, on a stovetop. The roasting is done, literally roasting. You take a stick, put it in the fire, and the whole, lamb is just roasted in that sense. Where do we know this from? The pasuk says, "By the Korban Pesach, bashel mevushal." Right, uses double language, and it comes to actually the double language ubashel mevushal. Right, it's actually in the makor, right? Makor is a tenseless verb, right? It's interesting. It's not past, it's not present, not future. It's a tenseless verb, right? And he uses it in a double language. And what does it come to teach us? That you're not allowed to go ahead and cook it with fruit juices. But by the way, parenthetically, the Mishnah continues about sachin umatbilin otobahim. You are allowed to go ahead and just like give it a little bit of like what's it called? Anoint it, right? You really baste it, put like a little bit on it, or dip it, in them, after you roast it. And Mishnah continues, right? It's a third totally different case. Right? Back then they would make matzot on Pesach, right? It wasn't limited to having to make matzah before Pesach itself. They would make matzah on Pesach. Now, when they're making matzah on Pesach, after they finish kneading, the baker would have to wash his hands, right, from all the kneading of the dough that he did. So after he washes his hands, that dough now is in there, and if he leaves it long enough, it could turn to chametz. So what do? You have to spill it out. Spill out that water. Harambam points out it needs to be spilled out not on a flat surface, but rather on a tilted, slanted area, right? So it just runs and it just doesn't all gather in one place. And the halacha is not like Rabbi Meir, rather like Tanna Kama, that in Matan, right? If you put the flour into the haroset, right? Matan yuchal miyad, you have to just eat it right away.